Location where this happened. Chris Voss is back with us. He's in our Washington studio. He's a former FBI hostage negotiator. Chris, before I go to you, let me just do a reset here. It's now 39 minutes after the hour. There's a good possibility that many of you are coming home, turning us on to watch our usual national conversation where we talk about all the stories that are taking place in the air, on the air. And instead today, we're focusing on one story and one story alone. 13 people killed in Binghamton, New York. A lone gunman appears to have walked into a building where people were preparing to become citizens of the United States, and he has killed that many people. We also learn now that he has, in fact, also taken his own life. All we know about him is that he's 42 years old. Police say they know that because they found his identification. Beyond that, they're not releasing any new information, but we are expecting a news conference at any moment now where police will be sharing more information. If it doesn't happen within the next 20 minutes, it most definitely will during our 4 o'clock hour. Back to Chris Voss. Chris, does it surprise you that someone who lived only 200 feet away would not have heard a thing?
No, Rick, it's not that much of a surprise at all. I mean, these people come in, it goes on, it takes place indoors. Gunshots in real life don't sound like the way that they do in the movies. In real life, they're actually quiet pops often. You don't know exactly what it was, so it's quite easy for someone fairly close by to not have heard it initially.
In cases like this, how soon do authorities respond, and what does it usually take? Is it usually a matter of, I mean, very few of us have ever experienced or been near a situation with where this much gunfire is used. And you can only imagine, to kill 13 people, just how loud, how explosive, and how many rounds he must have gotten off. Can you give us any sense of that?
Well, authorities, 911 calls obviously are taking place immediately. As soon as they find out about it, they're formulating a response, and they're doing what they can to actually respond to it before they're actually physically there. They'll be calling different people that are there at the location to find out the information that's going on. They'll be gathering information as to where the safest place maybe to set up a point to try to negotiate from is. They'll try to get as close as they can and make some sort of vocal contact with a shooter, if nothing else, to try to engage him in some sort of a dialogue in the event that they can begin to contain it verbally and stop the violence while it's still going on.
How troubling is it that they seem to have a real tough time locating someone who could serve as a translator so that officials could communicate with him?
Well, that's an unfortunate nature of how many languages there are, how many people that there are. It's very difficult to have people on standby with the enormous number of possibilities in any given community.
Well, not to be terribly critical, but, you know, if you're in a community where we know that there are people studying for their citizenship, and you have a particular community, not just an Asian community, but you happen to know that there are Vietnamese, wouldn't it be essential to have a translator on staff, or at least nearby, that one can immediely go to?
Well, yeah, ideally, you'd really like for that to happen, and they pre-position as many of these assets, as much of this planning, as many of these people as they possibly can. It's just that the enormity of the task, even in a predictable situation like an Asian community, there are many different dialects, there are very many different people. They prepare as much as they can, believe me.
Well, no, I understand. And look, the last thing we want to do is be hypercritical at this point. These are questions that I feel it's important to ask as we try and filter through some of this information. Let me do this for you. Let me take you through some of the pictures once again. For those of you who've been joining us of late, let's go with these pictures up full. Thank you so much, Roger, for knowing what I was going to ask even before I had a chance to ask it. All right, this is the scene that we're looking at now. Again, this is in Binghamton, New York, medium-sized city, secondary city, as cities go in the United States. That's the scene. People reacting as soon as they found out what was going on. People had originally been told to go to the scene, perhaps if they had to pick up loved ones. Obviously, that was changed immediately. That's one of the very first pictures we saw of someone actually being taken out who was injured. Fleshing that out for you, 5 people injured in all. 2 of them have been taken to the hospital where they're undergoing surgery right now from gunshot wounds. That's police as they gather in the area again. You see some of the ambulances coming and going as the scene developed now several hours ago. Authorities are still on the scene. That's that's part of the police force. SWAT are inside. Uniformed officers are outside, obviously taking cover. At this point, it's still not known exactly how many people were in the building or how many suspects were there. In fact, as these pictures were taken, they still didn't know whether the suspect had either taken his own life or fled. Hostage negotiators were on the scene, and there you see some of the SWAT individuals who had arrived after setting up a perimeter outside. I think here in this shot you'll see some of the police detectives who often serve as original negotiators until the FBI guys show up, who then take over. Here is one of the SWAT officials walking into the building, taking cover. One of the first things you do after setting up a perimeter, from my own experience in following these in South Florida for many years, is you have every single part of the building covered so that there can be no possible escape. And you also want to be able to help the people as they're taking off from the building. By that I mean victims who may be able to escape. It's often very difficult at this point to be able to make sure you know who they are so you don't confuse a victim with a suspect. That is why, again, other information that we've shared with you earlier today that we're now able to nail down is that two people were taken away. Two people were taken away. Originally, it was reported as people taken into custody. Now we're learning they were not taken into custody. They were simply taken away at the time because police wanted to clarify who they were and take them away for their own protection. So there you have it, the scene as it's been unfolding for the last several hours. As we get more information, we're going to be sharing it with you. And obviously, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to be tapping into one of these news conferences that we're going to get from some of the officials there in Binghamton, New York. Really a shocking story, a massacre in Binghamton, New York, as America gets ready to start the weekend. Obviously, some dismal scenes that are coming out of there. We're joined by several officials who are going to be taking us through this. We're also sharing with you what some of the reaction is. The President of the United States is obviously not in the country. He has been in France today. No comment from the White House specifically, but in his place, the Vice President of the United States, Vice President Biden, has made a comment. We're going to see if we can cue that up for you once again so you can hear the Vice President's comment when he had been first informed of what has happened. And what's interesting is